Yeah, now what do you want to lane? Of course, you slam the puck. Rui is incredibly confident on his laning ability. Of course, he's one of the few mid laners in NA who is actually able to peek into that top 10, where it does feel like mechanically, you can definitely keep up with the big boys, even though Whereas talked about not their kind of lackluster performance in the DPC. But like you said, they've almost tripled down on the team fight. They're going to be able to sustain a lot of that continued damage. The only thing I'm worried about is if they are too reliant on their cooldowns, and it's something they need to be very careful about. We could see Arkosh get maybe a few heroes that are really good at just immediately flipping the towers on you once those cooldowns are kind of gone. I think a great pick for them right now would be a hero like the Death Prophet. They don't have the most front line for it. I think with the DP lineup, you would definitely want to get someone a little bit bigger out in front of you, but they want a punish hero like that. Someone who's going to immediately get on those towers, swarm it, so to say, so that way you can get something in return, because you start playing around these cooldowns too much. And I think TOOBASED, they're a team that plays aggressive enough that they're going to be able to get a pretty sizable lead if they're just playing their heroes correctly.
Yeah, for now, well, looks like both teams are starting to shift more and more towards that team fight setup, with the Disruptor being picked up for them. So, well, we'll see which of these two squads sort of can get that early momentum, pushing those towers down. Obviously, still quite a bit of the draft left to go, and a couple of core positions that still need to be filled. But Arkosh are a little wary, right? You see Tide, Snap, and Puck, you know your opponents are going to be trying to get those big combos on you. So, in that regard, the Disruptor does seem relatively safe so long as he's staying in the back. And now Arkosh coming in with the Night Stalker here, so we are going to have, well, some sort of positional switch with this one.
Yeah, and I'm getting kind of flashbacks, some echoes. I mean, all the way back to BTS Pro Series 9, where this is exactly what you did. We talk about it consistently versus the Tidehunter. It's that persistent silence that Disruptor and Night Stalker very uniquely afford to you. And I think that's where maybe this Tide is actually going to struggle a little bit more to find those breakneck ultimates, where now Ryoya, who's also been countered a little bit here by the Night Stalker, needs to be incredibly careful with how he actually gets into these fights. Positionally, we're going to have to see how Arkosh switch things up. I think the Weaver and the Disruptor more or less locked into those support roles, but we've seen the Brewmaster mid, especially kind of slotted in by Gunner. And I like this because the lanes are kind of shifty on Arkosh's side. Pick an incredibly strong laner, and if you give this TA too much of a free time, it's the perfect punish in the draft, where suddenly this is just going to be a monster that you can't deal with. And of course, the spill is going to do fantastically versus those Brewlings. Now it's just a matter of how are Arkosh actually going to find a situation they're happy laning with.
Yeah, and I mean, the good news for them at least is that that carry pool was almost completely untouched, actually. Looking at the bans, didn't really go for any of those major heavy hitters. There's a lot more focus towards the mid lane, at least on the Arkosh side, ban-wise. So they do have quite a bit to work with. TOOBASED can obviously knock off a couple of, problematic heroes like the TB. That was a hero that Arkosh went to relatively frequently and tried to make work in the DPC. Obviously, their record shows that it didn't always work out for them, but still not a hero you want to deal with. And in a similar vein, the Naga Siren being banned out as well.
Yep, they know exactly what they don't want to play against. Of course, talk about the TA just being so good in lane, but the one weakness is you play versus a few Scotty carriers, you play versus a few illusion heroes, where suddenly you just get swarmed. You're a very single target carry, and I think now Arkosh kind of have to make the tough call here. The biggest kind of smoking gun right now would be to pick up a hero like the Luna, but ooh, okay, that's
That
the
is not a
outrange
Luna.
battle. That's
Okay.
not Luna. I mean, at the very least, it does what Terrorblade does on paper towards the TA. You always outrange her, you force her to kind of play this all-any initiation style, where if the TA is in, she really cannot get out. None of her allies can really help her get out either. But that's where you also pose the question, you pick Sniper into Puck. If these guys ever find their abilities landing on you, you have no survival. Until that Weaver gets an Aghanim Scepter, and that is decades away, you have absolutely no save. This is a game completely reliant on whether or not Arkosh or simply TOOBASED find that initial initiation, because you wait a little bit too long. Now you got to carry like Sniper. Both Sniper and TA, honestly, they feel pretty similar in the roles that they kind of give to your teams, but TA just has that much more tempo, and if this Puck and Tide, again, ever find their way onto the Sniper, he's got no answers. He's just gonna die every single time. They've all in on the Sniper versus TA core matchup.
Yeah, it's just so potentially strong, but also so risky, because yeah, the second that that distance gets closed, the second that gap is made up for, Sniper is just gonna die. There's not a lot of immediate defensive power other than, as you mentioned, a Weaver Ags that is not going to be coming quickly under any circumstances. So, high risk, high reward, I suppose, is the strat for Arkosh, is two-based. Okay. Picking up the Centaur, which... How are they going to lane this? Centaur to the off lane, and they're going to put the Tide in a support position. Okay.
Classic Empyrean Tide Hunter. Not something we've seen, especially in DPC, all too much, but of course, roll back the clock a little bit. Classic. As soon as you're like, oh, okay, this Tide lane's whatever, I'm going to do what I can. Something they kept consistent with the Tide, though, is you're laning with the TA. No matter whether or not you're going to lane with the Snapfire or the TA, you have that Gush synergy. You're going to be playing versus an opponent that probably has -7 armor and can't really lose that lane, especially if you're going to be laning versus what we already knew to be was either going to be that Brewmaster or that Night Stalker. His TA pick is feeling really strong even into the final phase, and Pale Horse is going to need a lot of net worth. He's going to need a lot of time afforded to him by his teammates. Not to mention, I think we have, what, is that going to be a mid-disruptor? Or Arkosh's lanes are still kind of up in the air here, I feel, a little bit, and we're also going to need to see a fantastic game from that Night Stalker. Otherwise, the puck's just going to run away with everything.
Oh my god. I hadn't even actually recognized that until you just pointed it out. That is Forsaken Oracle on the Disruptor, so I don't really know exactly how that works, especially going up against a puck in that middle lane, but I mean, at this point, it's Arkosh, right? So, not to say that we expect this sort of stuff, but it's maybe not surprising to see them go for some unconventional stuff.
Brew's gonna go mid. Good choice.
Ah.
Oh, great. That's great.
They'll scare you. They'll scare you every once in a while, but I think this is definitely a wise decision because at the very least, you're going to get levels in the mid lane, and you are going to boost up your Brewmaster to a little bit more of an aggressive position. Of course, you are laning versus Rioya. Rioya is just going to be able to walk all over you when it comes to the water runes. We're going to need to see that Weaver make a lot of trips towards that mid lane. Otherwise, I struggle to see how Monkey even gets a water rune in his bottle, but at the same time, I think that now they finally have a little bit of counterplay, especially if he can get active early, because the one downside of having this TA, especially in a side lane, one of the biggest downsides of having a safe lane TA is you are going to be slightly level starved. So up until that point, if Monkey has a few nice rotations into the TA's jungle before she's ready, before TOOBASED is ready to defend her jungle, you can definitely get a few cheeky kills to slow her down, and that's going to be the name of the game. If you can slow down that Deso Blink Dagger timing, suddenly the first Roche gets a little bit slower, suddenly your Sniper feels a little bit closer, and then we might have a game on our hands.
Mm-hmm. And that is something worth noting as we sort of get this one started. Oh, hold on a second. Take an Oracle. Okay, just trading some damage back and forth. On the TOOBASED side, during their DPC run, they were very much reliant, perhaps even overly reliant on sort of early success in their games. Got my handy dandy stats up right here. They only had, only had 3 games go past the 35-minute mark in the pro circuit. They were 1-2 in those games, and of those 3, only one of them went past 40 minutes. So their style, for better or worse, has been sort of play fast, either win fast or lose fast. There really hasn't been much in between for them. So we'll see what they go with here. As you see up top, Ollie and Empyrean already trying to get aggressive on to Gremlo. And, well, I mean, with the Gush play into the right clicks from the TA, you can certainly reduce a lot of that armor. But Gremlo, to be honest, didn't really care about that too much. And Empyrean's the one who's got to be a little careful here. With the first point in the Gush, he's not quite as tanky as he might need to be to absorb some of these right clicks.
No, he's really got to be careful, and another really big win for the side of Arkosh. Crow got that sentry battle already underway, and you see Empyrean immediately buy one, but look at Crow. Oh, the snipes. Oh. It's beautiful.
Both of them.
And there's your twofer right there. That's going to slow them down heavily, and that's going to make this sentry win even better for him, because now Empyrean really doesn't have an easy way to trade with this Weaver, and of course, that means that this creep wave is going to consistently push into the Night Stalker, and getting levels is all you need in this lane, and then suddenly your nukes really start to hurt. Not
the greatest of starts here for TOOBASED, but, well, at the end of the day, it's going to suck. You lost some couriers, you're losing that vision battle, but if Ollie can stay safe and find farm, then you're still going to be in a decent position. But Tyrion continues to sort of get smacked around by Crow here, and this is the problem. The Anchor Smash obviously is a fantastic tool, but Crow 9 times out of 10 is going to be able to stay out of that range, although as I say that, he does take one to the face, so shows what I know. But in theory, he should be able to maintain his distance.
Yeah, but if you split the TA from the Tidehunter, of course you give the TA the levels, but the trading just gets a little bit worse. And all you need is the Night Stalker to draw in this lane to be a success for Arkosh. Anything less is way more ideal for TOOBASED to actually get him off to a snowball. But look, because Empyrean's kind of catching up on the support work, you're just eating a horrible trade on the TA. So this is just really well done from Arkosh.
Playing this lane quite nicely. Meanwhile, over in the mid lane, Water Runes were split 1-1, but, well, the Brew is really more than holding his own here right now. Staying pretty much even in terms of the last hit count, and Ryoya, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do here unless the Brew pretty significantly overextends. You can poke, you can do a decent bit of damage, but that kill potential really just isn't going to be there right now.
Ooh. He's got to be careful too. Yeah, he can't really afford to get hit by any of those thunderclaps. And
oh my god, he did it again. Pro.
He did it again. Not respecting the ward. Oh man.
That's just bully tactics right there. 4 couriers killed in 3 minutes, so he knows what he's about, and there were some goodies on those couple of couriers as well. So not just the economic damage, but also keeping those items on the sideline. So, well, Ollie and Empyrean don't get to have a whole lot of fun up here. Good news is TA still looking okay, 16-2 last hit-wise, so that is always going to be that sort of silver lining for them, but they would like maybe a little bit more room to feel comfortable here.
No, it's definitely getting a little bit disconcerting, and yeah, just keep on pressing the issue here. Because Empyrean...
He might be able to get this. He's got 5 seconds for the Shikuchi again, and Empyrean...
oh, this is close, but no.
Anchor, no, okay.
Oh.
Crow playing it a little safe. He'll go back in for that second attack with the first point up in Geminate, and he's got it. First blood to Crow, so count the impact that the Weaver's had so far. 4 couriers killed. He's won the Sentry game. He's picked up first blood. You really can't expect much more than that, as Monster just gonna kill himself off to some neutrals there to avoid giving up the kill.
Yeah, very lucky. He actually was sitting underneath the shrapnel as well. The Centaur was just a little bit too brutal for him, and honestly, don't think you mind giving up that kill a little bit too much, but top lane,
oh, my lord,
that is a huge reach. But unfortunately, whenever Empyrean died before, Crow had already completed his urn. So there you go. Having a pre-4-minute urn on Weaver, pretty obnoxious to deal with. Not to mention that now you can just run all the way back to base, give Gremlo all of this XP. This lane is just really not going too hot for TOOBASED. And not to mention, Empyrean is not on a nice recovery 5. He is going to not really allow TA to get any stacks in the jungle. He's going to try and stack for him just a little bit here, but this isn't going to be the same effect that your Bane or Disruptor has, where you're constantly double and triple stacking. It's going to be a much slower burn, and unfortunately, again, it favors Arkosh.
Yeah, you picked up this Tidehunter for Empyrean, sort of looking to be that, maybe not dedicated fighter, but at least the bully in that lane, and unfortunately for Empyrean, that position has been completely and totally claimed by Crow on this Weaver. So you now have a Tide who doesn't really do what you wanted to pick him up to do, at least in the laning stage. As you see the rotation from the Brew, he is going to run into a courier, so that will spot this out at least a little bit, but now there's more couriers dead. Jesus, this is... I mean...
Well, that's 6.
You're supposed to try to keep him alive, boys. Like, 6 dead couriers. Is Flea going to get himself glimpsed back here? Forsaken Oracle trying to get away. Ryoya, though, uses the Illusory Orb. He really is looking for this. If he can get, if he can get the ult, he's going to be able to get that leash down, and Forsaken Oracle really has nowhere to go. Ryoya gets a bit of a freebie, and he gets TOOBASED finally on the board.
No, and that's incredibly important for Ryoya. Focusing on his own game is going to be incredibly important, because that's your space maker. It doesn't really matter what's happening to your Snapfire and your Tide, as long as they can still get their 6 in a timely fashion. But if Ryoya can snowball just a little bit, he is going to be the hero putting down the sniper. He's going to be the one actually able to play up on these supports. And of course, you do have the Disruptor ult, but you're a good puck player, and Ryoya certainly is. He's going to be able to play in those gaps. And I think that's why we see Arkosh making another attempt top. They know that the TA isn't able to rotate out so easily. I don't think they have a ward deep enough to see the TA right now, but As soon as they break here, they're gonna know. Ooh.
Crow's pushing up. Got the eyes on. Ollie's in some trouble, taking some damage. Looking for the TP. Not bad instincts, just doesn't have the time. Monkey and Crow get in there for the kill, and now we've got ourselves the Ascension being popped. Gremlo, well, he sees an opportunity. Ollie's been taken down, so Empyrean is alone under this tower. He may need some backup. No, he can do it solo. He is going to be coming in there for the kill. Crow was in a position to help, but not necessary as Arkosh continue to put the pressure on. 2 more kills.
Yeah, and look at this nice little push that Gremlo's been able to amass for himself. And now this top tower is going to eat so much pressure. And Ryoya.
He's still here. Oh, I don't know about that TP. Yep.
They scouted him.
He does
Nice
have the
haste,
haste. Yeah. Okay.
He's doing his job. He nuked out the wave. He's trying to make this push a little bit more difficult, but it's a little bit scary TPing in while that Dark Ascension is still there, but he's doing his job. This is actually a really nice play from him.
They're bringing the Disruptor over. They want this kill so damn bad, and Hasterun's going to run out. Can he get the glimpse? Yes, he can. Ryoya. Oh, he didn't. Ooh. He is going to get pulled back here, and I don't know how he gets out of this one. He is going to try and jump away, but the stun comes in from Monkey, and Ryoya will be taken down. So the dance was fantastic. He bought a lot of time, but he didn't buy time for anything in particular. Just a delay tactic where they lose the puck and the tower.
Yeah, the only thing I'm concerned with is you are kind of giving up that game that just praised him for playing around himself just a few minutes ago, and that's where Arkosh bringing the numbers. Another fantastic ulti from Monkey as well, keeping the card alive. It's the entire reason that tower actually goes down, and now the collapse on mid is going to feel even easier for Arkosh to actually attempt. The biggest downside right now, of course, is that you don't have the primal split. You don't have your strongest ability right now. But if they're not too careful and just block that Flea.
Well, they see him now. They're going to go in. They've got that field down, and there's no way out for Flea. Quick and easy kill for them. But this means see Forsaken Oracle immediately moves into that east side jungle. He can't get onto Ollie, but they at least suspect that the TA's there. So all of a sudden, your Templar Assassin, despite not being in any direct danger, has to disrupt the farming pattern, and that's even more bad news for TOOBASED, on top of the fact that they may very well lose another tier 1. This mid tower is not looking so hot, but here comes a TPN from Ryoya. He's got that dream call. Oh, he's glimpsed. Can he dodge it? Not quite. They did manage to find 1 kill to the north, though, as Ollie was able to get that with the help of the Snapfire. But now there's another fight breaking out. They're going to rush in with the Stampede, looking for Gremlo. I do believe that they've got this, or maybe not. Gremlo is a very fast boy. He is getting up the ramp, and they're not going to catch him.
Oh no, he's gone. He's free. Okay, there you go. I mean, it's a good defense, and they're playing around the puck's TP. That's why they go for what felt like a little bit of a crazy push there. But with all their abilities spent, unfortunately, you don't find the sniper. Even though your tower does, I believe, get denied. Nope, Monkey even got the tower last hit. That is still a huge win for Arkosh, because 10 seconds here, you're going to have the primal split, and then suddenly your only tool really is going to be this Ravage coming in from Empyrean, but unfortunately, he's level 4.5, 10 minutes into the game.
Ouch.
He is not looking so hot. Same as Flea. Both of these supports are just incredibly starved from the laning stage. At the very least, Monster is getting a little bit of farm, but we didn't talk that much about the bottom lane. Sniper has so much more, not base damage, but just poke that keeps Monster away from the creep wave, and unfortunately for him, he comes online just a few minutes too late, so he's not able to defend that mid tower. So now even him's going to feel aimless. And yeah, the puck
just free fires in with the Static Storm. They keep him in with the Glimpse as well, just to make sure there's no funny business as the static was ending. And now between Crow and Monkey, they had enough damage to finish it off. So now Ryoya, well, we talked about how important he was going to be. He's 1 and 2, and he is especially important in this matchup in particular, as I'll get to my nerd stats in just a moment, because Flea is not actually in danger. Crow wanted, but could not get the angle. But to that previous point, when these two teams faced off in their DPC matchup, it was a 2-0 win for TOOBASED that really came down almost entirely to the play of Ryoya. He had double-digit kills in both games, incredibly efficient. I think it was something like less than 5 or 6 deaths in total across the series, so he was massive for them. But if he can't put up those same kind of numbers here, well, TOOBASED may be in for a bit of a struggle, as they are going to have to use the Stampede there to get away from that fight, but it is going to get them out.
Yeah, super worthwhile trade. They just need to be careful. Don't get too greedy here. Of course, he's still hunting around. And this is a tier 1 that they will kind of be happy with giving up if they're really going to force the issue on Arkosh, because it's a lot of farm they're going to be able to get in the meantime. Meanwhile, Monster, though, ooh, it's a nice hoof stomp, but he's just getting the creeps. Missed the
3
thunderclap,
seconds
though.
for static, though. Oh, okay. They're thinking about it. There it is. They don't throw the static storm in just yet. They're going to see what Monkey can do first. Crow's even coming in to get down that beetle for the armor reduction. They'll throw him up in the air with the cyclone, and Monster, I mean, he can try, but with Pale Horse coming in as well, there's just too much damage here. The sniper grabs the kill, and Arkosh continue to roll.
Yeah. It's something they need to be incredibly cautious of. Next time they use Stampede so defensively, they just need to show way less on the map. Unfortunately for their lineup, they're very immobile, and that means that when that Stampede is committed, or if it's aggressively committed, they don't have that get out of jail free card. And of course, it's not the best get out of jail free card when you're playing versus Disruptor. Disruptor loves when his opponents run from him, but at the same time, you just need to be a little bit more patient, I think, especially with Monster looking for that blink timing, which is, again, very, very far away right now. And it's one of the biggest timings they have to play for.
Yeah, quite a ways away from that. Meanwhile, Monkey, he's got himself an Arcane Rune bottled up, so he is going to have a lot more leeway to work with in terms of trying to get aggressive. And the question at this point is, where should they really go? The most obvious answer right now would be the Templar Assassin. They've got this ward down, so they've spotted him out, moving through the jungle as the Stampede's going to come. They're looking to make their move mid. There's going to be the Ravage coming through. Monkey, I mean, he's taking damage, but that was really more of a defensive ult than anything else. But your 2-base, I don't know how long you're going to be able to get away with using these big ults defensively, especially since Empyrean, he still may not be in the clear here. He is getting run down. Palehorse is going to be able to pick him off. Meanwhile, Forsaken Oracle, look at him just sprinting his way forward, but he didn't have the glimpse at the ready, so they're not going to be able to find another target. But 2 big ults from the side of 2-base used, you still lost a hero, and you don't really get much for it, and now, all of a sudden, yeah, they're looking at Ollie. They want that TA, knowing that there's no immediate reinforcements. Gremlo's going to come in, dropping the silence down. They'll pop the dust as well for the vision, and Ollie might need some help here. Palehorse is able to find Monster in the jungle, so they do find that pickoff, but Monster at least delayed the arrival of these other heroes. I suppose that's got to count for something, but they're still in a rough scenario, especially with Empyrean now getting glimpsed out of the fight. And is there even going to be a fight? If you're 2-base, you may just want to cut and run.
Yeah, I think both teams will actually need to back off just a little bit here. Dark Ascension ending, a minute till nighttime, so you don't want to give up your advantage too easily. But unfortunately for them, actually, unfortunately for Monster, he ran interference a little bit there, so the combination of the Weaver and the Night Stalker just simply didn't have enough damage to actually take out Ollie, so he is able to kind of squeak away on that TA, but at the same time, you're still disrupting his farming patterns, you're still getting a lot of space taken away from him. You have Stampede in 5 seconds, but you still look at this blink timing, and Forsaken Oracle is just killing Flea.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, why not? It's not the most valuable kill in the world, but this early in the game still, if you've got it, throw it out there. Flea gets picked off, and Gremlo was able to grab the kill as well there. So this Night Stalker, he is starting to come along a little bit. 3rd highest net worth in the game. That Echo Saber was picked up around that original fight under that bottom tier 1, so he is starting to get stronger and stronger as this game goes on, and that's going to be big for Arkosh. We were talking about the sniper needing to maintain that distance. If Gremlo on this Night Stalker can actually be that big bully on the backline with that AoE silence, then it makes it so much easier for Palehorse to just sit back and dish out damage.
Yeah, and that's also where I think Ollie is really going to start feeling the pressure, especially during these night times. It's really going to also fall on the shoulder of Forsaken Oracle. He's done a really good job of keeping the vision out of 2-base side, but he's also been losing some of the fights here. It kind of happens when you're playing versus a melee 5 on the opposing side. You kind of get bullied out a lot of these areas that you otherwise would be able to play in. Pro's just being obnoxious. I mean, the man almost has an Orchid. He's going to be really annoying on this Weaver, just all-inning almost on this damage style just because they are playing with the lead, but... Oh,
Empyrean is here
Empyrean.
now. They're going to go for it, and yeah, Empyrean with that
Not
silence on him.
but so brutal.
Never got the chance to get it off. That's just going to be their... Well, just about every time they find the pickoff, and now there's going to be the Ascension. They want more. They know Ollie's in here somewhere, and he is standing under a sentry. That is unfortunate for the TA. Ollie has nowhere to go, and no backup to speak of. Monkey's going to be able to bring him down, and Arkosh, they just will not let up here. 13 kills in 16 minutes. This is, well, exactly the kind of pace of play that we didn't see from them that much in their DPC performance. So they are making those adjustments already, and the longer this game goes on, the less and less risky this sniper pick is starting to look.
No, they're playing exactly like a unit. They're playing ahead of their opponents, and of course, we do still have this puck kind of playing in the side lanes, doing his job, finding his opportunities. But it's hard to say. But those two deaths that Ryoya kind of had to eat in the mid lane, just because he was kind of playing by himself, the one death mid, the one death top, really set him back. It felt like no longer he could make a solo expedition into the jungle. We never saw TOOBASED make a huge smoke rotation to look for the sniper farming ancients simply because their supports were too far behind, and you have to look at the lanes. You have to see what kind of went wrong there. And now that you have this Aghanim Scepter finished on Monkey, you need to take these incredibly long engagements just to survive. You need to really play around his cooldowns. Unfortunately, the Ags is why you can't really play around his cooldowns. He's got two ultis. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants. And I think that's where we might see them, unfortunately, have to adopt this split push style. And it is working.
TP
You are getting people sent back.
They want Ryoya. They're setting up with the silence, but they're not able to hit him in time. Ryoya's going to TP himself out. Gremlo, if he had the vision, he could have stopped it, but big play from Ryoya, just sort of keeping himself alive there. That was a 3-hero rotation that takes some of the pressure off elsewhere. And well, you mentioned how much that first couple of deaths set Ryoya back. It's now more important than ever that he just clears out of there as quickly as he can.
Yeah, and now on TOOBASED, they really have three choices. You either smoke and you head immediately to the area that you were split pushing, you look in the Ancients, or you go to Roche. And whichever they choose for, Arkosh is already preparing a counter smoke on their own side. And look at Pale Horse's positioning. He is so careful right now. It feels like he's so aware of what's going on. And look at the counter.
Ooh.
This
They're
is not
in.
the
They
smoke
pop.
they
They get the
wanted.
silence down onto Empyrean first. They're going to trap him up inside the Static Storm as well. Stampede does come through from Monster, though, but it's just not going to matter. Flea's already dead. Empyrean's dropping low. Never gets the Ravage off. And now Monster, well, he's been stunned. He's been thrown up in the air. Now he is silenced by Gremlo, and he's stuck in a kinetic field. This is just an absolute disaster for TOOBASED. Arkosh, they set up perfectly to counter out that smoke play with a smoke of their own. Now they're into the Roche pit, and all momentum is on their side.
Yeah, and really, they're just an absolute unit. It's such a smart smoke. It's really good leadership coming in from Arkosh to be aware of what was going on. Even Pale Horse, just keeping everyone who's getting hit by that static field. Forsaken Oracle has played really, really solid this game. Just always able to find his target, and unfortunately, just a little bit quicker on the fingers. I think Empyrean, he's looking for those big ultis. He wants to set up for, if anyone, for Flea, just so that way those Mortimer kisses are hitting on anyone. But oh, Ollie, this would be a big death, and I think it is almost assured.
Monster do anything to save this. He's trying to get in position, but look at the dodge. All three heroes sidestep the stun. They still get the kill, and now Monster's revealed himself, but they don't want Monster. They want the puck. Ryoya trying to get himself away. He's able to blink out. Gremlo, there's really not too much more he can do, or maybe he can. Forsaken Oracle comes in. They get that glimpse down. Empyrean's pulled out, and he could Ravage now, but it wouldn't really do much good. He's just going to hold it instead. And Arkosh are just playing this so perfectly, AT. It is incredible what they're putting together here so far.
Yeah, really, the only mistake I have with their play is they are letting this top lane get out a little bit too far, but none of their heroes are really adept at cutting those waves, so they're doubling down on what they're fantastic at, and they're continuously hitting. I mean, even with an item like the Orchid on this Weaver, really has to be so careful constantly, and, well,
Oh boy.
he's Orchided. If they have vision, he's just dead.
Static's gonna
and
get
he's just
thrown
dead.
down. Forsaken Oracle is just not holding back anything. If he sees the shot, he takes it, and that time around they find the pick. Ryoya suffers his third death, and now Arkosh, they're on the high ground. We are coming up on the 20-minute mark, and they're looking for a tier 3 as Monster. That may not have been the best of ideas. He does have the kisses coming through, but they're not connecting onto much of anything. Now they're going to hit him up with that Cyclone. And he is pretty much trapped here. Monkey's dropping a little bit low on HP himself, however, but it's not going to matter. Glimpse gets Monster right back into the fight. The Assassinate flies through for the damage, and Monster gets taken down just as Monkey's ult's end.
Yeah, and it's just a slight misplay, I think, from Monster there. Gremlo was on the high ground. They had the nighttime vision, so Monkey simply reacts with that ultimate. It's a beautiful ult from the Brewmaster to dodge that Centaur stun, but at the same time, there's no escape plan. Every single time these heroes on TOOBASED are getting punched in Oracle?
Hello?
Oh, okay. Lag.
Oh, great.
Solidarity for the boys.
That's great.
Yo. Well, you're up 20-4. You can afford something like that. So Oracle's going to take the death there, but his team got a full lane of racks. So, realistically speaking, you know, you would kind of prefer he not, but if you're this far ahead, you'll take that risk. As speaking of risks, this is a bit of an iffy one. They're going to try and jump onto Monkey here, though. They've got him stun locked. The silence comes in now as well into the solo Ravage, and oh, Monkey, he had an ult, but he never had the opportunity to get it off. But now, yeah, Flea, you can't be there. That's still a sniper, man. That's maybe getting a little ahead of himself on that one as Flea will get picked off. Gremlo now wants the fight, pops the BKB. They're going to go in onto Empyrean. That TP will not complete. This TP will not either, as Ollie is going to get glimpsed back into that kinetic field. He'll try and hold his ground with that Deso. It's a nice bit of damage, but not onto any one target in particular. Can't find the kill before he goes down, and, well, immediate vengeance for Arkosh. They lose Monkey, but they pick up 3 kills, and they are still very much the squad in control here.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. They definitely get a little bit too far ahead of themselves, and they felt strong. They had 3 Blink Daggers. I think that was their big moment. It's the big reason why they catch the Brewmaster so off guard there, but you kind of give an inch, and then suddenly your TA is dead. And now the push is just going to continue to come forward. Aegis is expiring in 1 minute and 20 seconds, so of course will be a target eventually here, but look at his itemization. He has a BKB as soon as that Aegis is finally off of the board, and look at how deep Monkey is, just looking in the back line, and
there's the glimpse.
Nice dodge.
Yeah, gonna be able to get himself out of that one. Monster, okay. Gets in for the stun, because, okay, Flea had his back. He's gonna pop the cookie just to make sure Monster gets back into the base, and, well, 2-base successfully fall back, but whatever defense that they were trying to plan around that tier 2, it just completely collapses, and at this point, if you're Arkosh, well, 45 seconds left on that Aegis. You can afford to put some pressure onto this tier 3, and you do see them pushing up. Monkey's even going to pop the first of those splits, and, well, Flea, yeah, that's not going to last very long. Cyclone there to cancel out the kisses, and do they actually go in? Monster wants it. They're going to look to push forward. They've taken out Oracle already, so without the Disruptor, that is a large part of that team fight gone, but he immediately buys back, and Pale Horse continues to fire away from the backline. They'll take Monster down first. Flea, once again, thrown up in the air, but once he comes down, he's able to get himself out with the blink, but this defensive position from TOOBASED is starting to deteriorate pretty rapidly, and I'm not sure they could hold if there was another push, especially with Oracle now all the way back onto the front line, and Ollie, that's not where you want to be. He's in trouble. Cookie's going to try to push him a little bit further out, but they still have the vision. They're going to try and jump down, but look at Ryoya on the back line, able to hit with a 3-man coil, but where's the follow? There just isn't any. Pale Horse pops the BKB and stands his ground, and that did basically nothing. It's a nice play from Ryoya, but there wasn't really anyone there to back him up. They'll lose a hero, they'll lose a tower, and they might just lose the whole lane of racks, but Ollie is going to buy back. Empyrean goes in, dropping the Ravage. They hit onto 2. Gremlin was able to pop the BKB in time, though, so he will hold the front line, and now there's that Static Storm coming into play. Forsaken Oracle does have to die for it, but they are starting to clean up. Ollie dies back. Empyrean dropped low as well. Monster trying to hold some sort of front, but it's just not going to work, and the GG will be called. Arkosh absolutely dominant here in Game 1.
Yeah, they almost did every aspect of Dota right there. I think they read their opponents incredibly well. They shattered the side lanes. They were happy with mid being a draw, and then I think Ryoya just got a little bit too comfortable, played a little bit too slow, especially opposing Monkey, who was constantly making those rotations. I think he definitely had an easier time. He had an easier lane to gank, but we only really saw Ryoya make 1 or 2 expenditures towards that bottom lane where the sniper had already rotated out. And I think really not syncing up that Centaur and that puck just seamlessly enough. We didn't see Monster specifically have a great time. Had a relatively late blink considering the situation. And I think kind of underestimated that sniper versus Centaur lane. They picked the Centaur thinking that on paper, we're going to get on top of him. It's going to be very difficult for him to play. But unfortunately for them, with how shattered those side lanes were, Flea and Empyrean just were not able to contribute enough there. And then I think that's where you look at Ollie, who felt incredibly cornered. He was constantly getting played on by the entire core of Arkosh. And I think they just felt torn apart. Ryoya had way too many jobs to do. And I think that's where they really didn't have a clean, concise game plan. Just too many aspects of their draft failed. And I think now in Game 2, maybe not swap up those heroes, but maybe swap up their playstyle a little bit, because something clearly went very wrong in those lanes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we really said 2 things for this game. Ryoya had to sort of get it going. 2, 3, and 4 on puck is not getting it going by any measure, and they needed to put pressure on Sniper. Pale Horse does not die a single time. So 2 key points for TOOBASED that they really did not hit on. And as you said, they're going to need to make those adjustments, and they're going to need to make them quickly, because if game 2 looks anything like game 1, Arkosh are going to be in a pretty strong position. So Arkosh able to get themselves a victory to open up the series. The question now, can they make it a clean 2-0 sweep, or will TOOBASED be able to adjust and get themselves back into this to push it to a full 3 games? We'll be finding out in just about 5 to 10 minutes here. So we will step away for a moment. Game 2 coming up on the other side of the break.